Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name's Amber. I'm a machine learning engineer at Arise. And for this lightning talk, I'm going to be talking to you about tracking embedding drift in your unstructured data. So unstructured data makes up 80% of all data generated today, yet troubleshooting ML models with unstructured data is extremely difficult. ML teams are shipping models blind. They're not knowing how their models are performing in production, and they don't know how to troubleshoot when things go wrong. So the challenges involved with monitoring unstructured data, you're unaware that underlying data has changed. There's no visibility into change or movement of that data. And so it's extremely difficult to actually troubleshoot that change and fix upstream data issues. Let's give an example and say you are building a sentiment classification model. You want to determine if these product reviews are positive, negative, or neutral. And you might think your data looks something like this, where you have concrete terms like excellent, good, great in your reviews, which make it pretty easy to train a model to say, okay, great is a positive review, unhappy is a negative review, good is kind of a neutral review. But what your data actually looks like is data that is unexpected, whether that data is a different type of review, it's in a different language, it's in a different format. It essentially doesn't fit any longer into what you thought your data would look like. So let's say your data now has Spanish reviews that have seeped into your pipeline. So you have Spanish reviews along with English reviews, but your model may not have been equipped to handle Spanish reviews. So ML observability for unstructured data, how you want to be able to monitor it and think about it alongside your structured data is you want to be able to monitor every embedding. You want to easily identify data that has changed. You want to be able to identify patterns of change, and you want to be able to export this problem data. So you want to be able to export it so that way you can quickly fix upstream data issues. And I mentioned embeddings, and I'm just going to dive in a little bit deeper to that before I get into an example in the platform. So the way we generate embeddings is we'll take a word, a sentence, a review, and we'll generate a word embedding. It could be an NLP example. There can be embeddings for computer vision use cases, for personalization use cases. Many use cases today are leveraging embeddings, which are vector representations of the text that captures some semantic meaning. And then you want to do a dimensionality reduction visualization. So you want to take that high dimensional embedding space and reduce it to a low dimensional representation, which we can understand. The state-of-the-art option for this is UMAP. UMAP tends to be state-of-the-art because it captures and conserves the local as well as global structure for the data set. I'll be dropping a few links. So there'll be links to sign up for your free Arise account. You can test out embedding drift for yourself with your own models. I'll be dropping the links to signing up for a free account, as well as joining our community Slack. So let's dive into a quick example of what I mean by monitoring embedding drift. So right now I'm in the Arise platform, I'm in my models, and I'm looking at my NLP sentiment classification model. And then if I look at under my given features, I have embedding features. So I'm looking under my text vector for my embedding features. Here we're going to see the drift. So again, if you're familiar with drift for structured use cases, drift is seeing the difference in distributions from your baseline to your current distribution. So here we're saying the drift of our production or current data set compared to our model baseline, which we are making our training data for this purpose. So at the beginning, we can see that the Euclidean distance or kind of distance between embeddings is very low. So there's not much change happening from time periods between our model baseline and our production data, but major drift starts occurring later on. So having a high Euclidean distance or a high cosine similarity metric mean that the embeddings are starting to change, they're starting to move, and it's increasing the distance or drift between embeddings of a given space. So if we want to look at this UMAP comparison, what we can do is we can select the dimensionality. So I could select 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional views. I have other features to select on, and then I can actually color by things like correctness, data set, prediction label, actual label, confusion matrix. So confusion matrix, for example, maybe you want to look at your false positives. But if I want to first kind of classify by data set, I'm going to have my training, which is my baseline, and I'm going to have my production, which is going to be this production window that I looked at for my data set. So if our baseline at first had no drift, we expect our data to look like this, where if I use my lasso technique, I could see that these are the positive reviews, these are the negative reviews, and then these are the neutral reviews. So these are the neutral reviews, and then these here are the negative reviews. You can also export this data directly for labeling purposes. But if I want to see what is causing the drift and look at this new data set, I'm actually going to go into full screen mode for this and look at this new data set. What I can select is either select 1 point or the set of points and see that these are actually Spanish reviews. I'm going to color by correctness to see how good my model is at actually seeing these new reviews and making a prediction on it. And we see that based on correctness, this model is not doing too well. There's a lot of incorrect points for this new data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these new data, and I'm going to either decide, do I want to retrain my NLP sentiment classification model to be able to handle Spanish reviews, or do I want to create a new model specifically designed for Spanish reviews and maybe other languages as well? So thank you for coming to my lightning talk. And if you have any questions, I can answer them in the chat. Thanks.